Hi. One of you asked me this week about how we can stay hopeful, uh, particularly with regards to justice work and looking at the world around us and feeling disheartened. So it got me thinking about how we often talk about and use the word hopeful as if it's an emotion that rises up organically or we feel spontaneously. I don't think of it that way. It's an adjective that describes the person, describes me. Am I full of hope? And how can I cultivate hope in myself so I can stay full of hope? Hopefulness is an orientation toward the future, towards looking ahead, thinking of the possibilities of what we can do together, how we can make things better for people who are hurting right now. How can we help stop, slow climate crisis, make improvements that way? And in our justice work right now, especially all of us, but especially white people, and particularly those of us at Chalice, have oriented ourselves to learning about the past because that's an important part of healing the trauma, racialized trauma in our world. We've been invited to do that again and again, and it's important work to do. But I think we need to stay mindful when we're doing that work. And the congregation is reading right now the Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. That when we're oriented to the past that way, we're going to have feelings of grief, of overwhelm, of the hurt that's been done. The trauma of knowing what humans are capable of and integrating that with trauma we're experiencing in the current moment of seeing what humans are capable of. So we need to leave space for that kind of grieving as we look back. But then need to make room also for looking forward at the same time. How can we change how we've been? How can we continue to help building a new world? Many of you will remember Bryan Stevenson. He's an African-American human rights attorney, social justice advocate, and founder of the Equal Justice Initiative. He talked about hopefulness in an interview just last year in May, so well into the pandemic. I'll post a link to the interview in the YouTube description for this video. You may also know Bryan Stevenson from his memoir, Just Mercy, which was also made into a film, and he was the Ware Lecturer at the 2017 General Assembly of the UUA. This is from that article. Despite all the challenges faced, Stevenson remains hopeful about his work in helping the wrongly convicted, the condemned, the unfairly sentenced, and creating an era of truth and justice that is so desperately needed. Stevenson said, "It's not a pie-in-the-sky hope. It's not a preference for optimism over pessimism. It's just an orientation of the spirit. I think we have to be willing to believe things we haven't seen. That's our superpower. I had to believe I could be a lawyer even though I'd never met a lawyer who looked like me. We had to believe that we could create an institution that could help people on death row, even though we hadn't seen that happen. We had to believe we could build a museum and a memorial in the heart of a pretty hostile space when it comes to racial justice. And yet we've achieved all of those things." He continues, "And so I think hopelessness is the enemy of justice. I think injustice prevails when hopelessness persists. And so hope is our requirement. It's our superpower." I love this quote so much, I'm going to print it out and hang it on my wall to see it easily. Hope is our superpower. Hopelessness is the enemy of justice. So I wanted to share that with you today. Something to focus on in the week ahead. I imagine that most of us have someone we've fallen out of touch with, or we haven't kept in touch the way we would like to. A friend, a family member, that person who crosses your mind. You wonder how they're doing, and you feel bad you haven't been in touch. Maybe they called you and you haven't called back or returned that email yet. I want to encourage you to reach out to that person in the week ahead. It can be hard when we're in crisis mode, survival mode. Those are the kinds of contacts that fall away, and that's normal. That's nothing to feel bad about. But at some point, we want to reestablish that connection because those relationships help support us, and you will feel better supported, and your load will feel lighter when you've reached out to that person. Write a note, send an email, make a phone call, whatever feels like you have space for. So I hope you'll do that. And, enjoy the weekend. It's Halloween. It's a time of festivity. We're going to talk Sunday morning about how grieving our losses can also be a time of joyful remembering. So invite that spirit of playfulness into your life if you can. It's good to be with you.